And why don't they go and contest? After contesting so many times, they still go back to that seat. It is because the perception of the community has given an indication that they only have their own reserved seat and therefore they cannot contest on the open seat. Several women have tried because the provision of the Constitution does not deter them. But what they face on ground is what faced them. To a level that right now, we have presidential campaigns and not any woman has shown up. It is not that they are not interested, it is not that they have no capacity, it is because the ground appears hostile. This table here indicates how many women have been able to contest on the open seat. In 1989, only 2% were able. That is 9 out of 280 members of parliament. In 1994, only 3%, only 8 were able to manage to go through the open seat out of 285. 1996, only 4 were able. And 2001, 13, 2006, 14, 2011, 11, 2016, 18, and 2021, 16. Gender-based violence is reflected and manifested in so many ways in politics. One of the ways through which it is reflected is deterring women or at family level. Women still have to seek for permission from their husbands to contest. And if he says no, then the community will not allow. Because if he chooses to campaign you, it becomes a problem. No one will ever cast for you a vote. The second one is the family. The third are the resources that you need. Financial resources usually are known to be financial resources for the family. Whether you have made that money yourself, you are also supporting family members and the survival needs. So it becomes difficult for a woman to get money and education. The levels of education, some of them do not meet the required levels of education. The worst is awareness. Civic education which is conducted is so thin that not many people get to know this information. Why is it thin? It's because when it is conducted, sometimes it is conducted in the townships, and yet women are in the fields doing their chores or farming. It is conducted in a specific time for radios and TVs. During news time, women are busy cooking. During the weekdays, they are busy working. They are the first people to rise up in the morning and the last people to get in bed. And by that time, the civic education has already been passed. So we need to devise other mechanisms to get out, to reach out to the women. The other issue is the media. On many occasions, we're now using the social media. Many people are now leaving the objectivity and somebody's capacity and concentrating on what they're going to earn on that day to give you publicity. Whether you have a point, whether you're objective, whether you have capacity or not, they don't look at that. Do you have the resource to run with a team of the media that will give you publicity? The social media is also becoming a challenge where every person has now transformed themselves into journalists. And they can now take a contract to abuse you, accuse you, malign you, and defame you. And women are not used the way in which they can stand being dehumanized every day. Given that politics is really a service that you offer, and more of a free service, it is very difficult for women to withstand that. The other deterring factor is religion. Religion seems to have a presumption that women were created for marriage. Women were created to be holy. And so if she came and danced around, somebody will not look at how she's mobilizing. Recently, I saw one of my friends from Parliament, actually the constituency member of Parliament here in Central Region, dehumanizing a woman who had gone to a rally and expressed herself in dancing, and was saying she has a big Intimidations, because they know women are not masculine, they fear somebody can come with a punk and intimidate you until you run away from that rally, and you never want to go back to that village. So women have gone through a lot of intimidations. The other deterring factor is the constituency of women. The geographical constituency of women, say for Parliament, is twice or 3-4 times bigger than the other area where men contest. A constituency is already a presumed thinking that it is no space for women. So even when they contest in their space, the situation is that the geographical area is too big. So sometimes women have to do too much to be twice as good, to be able to be quantified half, to match with men. So with this, and realizing that they are quite abusive, age is also another factor. And even the way you look. If you are not at contest with a young girl, and yet you're a mature woman, and this girl is looking so nice, it will not matter whether she has the substance or facts, or is capable of delivering a service, which is really the core mandate and requirement against which people should be able to identify a leader. That girl will trounce you. And if she has some financial muscle, then there will be a problem. So this have been happening to women, even women in art and music. At 50, somebody will think, why should you go on the stage to sing? And yet you have the voice, you have the talent. But it becomes difficult because people think that you are too old for the job. I was seeing it even recently in our primaries. The other thing is the voting methods. The lining up was a big problem to the NRM. To begin with, the lining up has never been a form of expression of democracy. Because democracy is supposed to give people a free will. But when somebody is watching over you, and if it is your husband, even if you don't desire him to be a candidate, or you don't think he's the leader, what leader, you need to be protected. The other issue, the multi-party politics did not give provision on which each party should really benchmark or provide for women's participation. So in other places, people give flags whoever they wish, irrespective of gender. And you'll find very few women involved in that politics, because the flag is given to whoever, without setting yardsticks or standards against which people should be able to match. So those factors, and there are political parties which have no provision for women's participation at all. In my study, I realized that CP did not have, JEMA did not have anything at all, provision for women's participation. There was nothing. So moving forward, as the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, we have moved to religious leaders. We have moved to cultural institutions. At least in my space, we have tried to do that. Why? Because some people think women should go to serve religions, and yet the provision and regular in civic education. These elections of saying today you are addressing us on this and then tomorrow about the other election, it is not the only thing. If you are not as regular as possible, as regular I mean every day, there must be some, because we are running elections for now 3 months, and 3 months we need information every day. Information should be repeated, should be consistent, it should have standards, it should be also encouraging. Because women's participation in politics is a recent thing. To deter the tradition that people were born with does not take just a day. So we have had elections now about 7 times with women's participation. We are now seeing a rush back. It gives an indication that there's something that is not yet done that we need to do better. We'll start from the Constitution of of Uganda, 1962, where we had very limited women's participation, even when there are provisions that indicated that everybody can participate in politics, women inclusive. Women were allowed to vote from the 1992 Constitution, the 1964 Constitution, the 1967 Constitution, the 1995 Constitution. The 1995 Constitution gave more provision for women and was more deliberate. Article 32 of the Constitution states that notwithstanding other factors, the state shall provide affirmative action for vulnerable groups that were marginalized by history and tradition to participate in politics. Article 32(5) of the Constitution goes on to domesticate the Beijing Platform for Action, which provided for quotas for women's participation in politics. And these quotas were stating that at least 30% of women in parliament, in local governments, should be given an opportunity. So it provided for reserved seats for women to participate at parliament level, at the district council level, at least also one representative of women at the village level and at the parish level. Since then, there was growth in the number of women participating in politics from 2 in the 1964 Parliament. The 1966 Parliament had 4 ministers who were female, to 18% in the 1995 after the Constituent Assembly. So from 18%, the number of women participating in parliament at least has grown, and someone will distribute a table for you to see, because of that affirmative action that was deliberately created, not only to domesticate the Beijing Platform for Action, but also to ensure that women in Uganda participate fully. So from 18%, we went to 2001, 18%, 25%, 2006, 29%, 2011, 31%, 2016, and 35%, 2020, and thereafter there was stagnation and a reduction came in 2020. The recent election, the last elections we had, women were now dropping to 34%, from 35 to 34, 33%. So this stagnation gives an indication of many things. One of the things is that there is now a backlash. The backlash is not only reflected in participation of women in parliament or in politics, it is also on the gains made for women's human rights. I am sure you know about the Charter on Human Rights and the Rights of Women, which is at the regional level on the African scene.